I shall attempt the anthem of the angels. It has some indestructible essence in it, and although it has been treated first and last, even worse than poor John Barleycorn, plowed down, tossed to and fro and mangled, no translator I have met with has succeeded in quite extinguishing it. Michael.
The sun contents as erst, and I, with kindred spheres in joyous sound, and brings his first appointed way in paths of thunder always round. Angelic powers his sight inspires, though none his secret mystery knows, and rolling spheres and glorious fires are glorious, as at first they rose.
Gabriel Wesserin. Swift, inconceivably away, the earth pursues her rolling flight and alternates celestial day with deep and chill and shuddering night. It foams the ocean, broad and free, on rocks and shallows far and near, while hurries on with rocks and sea, the ever-swift revolving sphere. Raphael.
Contending storms through ether sweep, and sea and land by turns invade, yet chained in nature's systems keep, and still to them subservient made. Precursor of the thunder's roar, in fire destruction marks its way. Yet thee thy servants most adore, Lord, in the peaceful beams of day.
Alsacer.
Angelic powers thy sight inspires, though none thy secret mystery knows, and rolling spheres and glorious fires are glorious as at first they rose.
We are now introduced to Faust, and we find him first in his character of an university professor in an old Gothic chamber of an ancient tower, among musty parchments, strange apparatus, and antiquated furniture. It is late in the night, and he seems to have just thrown aside his books in despair and disappointment to muse on the results of his application, on the arts and uses of his life, and he finds them nothing. He discusses the value and substance of the sciences and studies among which he has so long been seeking repose of spirit and finding none, and he pronounces them vain and illusory and exclaims bitterly against the deceit they have so long been wont to put on him, and through his means on others. He rhapsodizes his regret for the always inevitable and now irreparable waste of his life, of time and energies created and given him expressly to be wasted, and for that only, fitted and predestinated. He looks out at the window and speaks to the only face he sees, to the only companion he is wont to welcome.
Thou full-orbed moon, O could thy light behold my sorrow's end tonight. Thou whom so oft with pensive brow tonight's high noon I've watched as now, while hither thy consoling ray o'er books and papers found its way. O could I to the mountain's height float off, all buoyant in thy light, or flit with ghosts the abysses over, o'er meadows in thy glimmering hover, or bathe, from wisdom's sorrows free, in floods of dew all fresh from thee. We, still in prison, fast and deep, a cursed noisome dungeon keep, where heaven's own light on weary walls through painted windows dimly falls. Mid piles of books, which smoke and dust and worms long since have made their prey, and household stuffs, which moth and rust are hastening in their old decay. Heaped up tools, boxes, glasses climb till the old chamber seems to be the omnium gatherum of time. Is this a world for thee? Why throbs the breast with secret pain? The anxious spirit questions why. Earth and its hopes allure in vain the aching heart and weary eye. Instead of nature's vistas free, where man creation's purpose owns, in dust and smoke surrounding thee, are skeletons and ghastly bones. Arise, seek out that distant land. See here the great mysterious book, the work of Nostradamus's hand. For better guidance wouldst thou look, the starry world unclosed at length. Its light shall on thy soul diffuse, and teach thee with a spirit's strength the tongues communing spirits use. In vain, unkenned and idly here, must these dread signets meet mine eye. Mysterious powers that hover near, oh, if ye hear my voice, reply.
His aspirations are at first for the converse of lofty and holy beings, the spirits of the macrocosm, or to phrase it somewhat incorrectly, the greater universe. It is to arrive at these that he resolves to pass the bounds of lawful knowledge and grasp the forbidden book. His nerves become electric with a delightful and supernatural excitement, and his mind fills with visions of glory. Yet he regards the sign of the macrocosm long and wistfully, and dares not speak it out. He fixes on that of the spirit of the earth, the active and beneficent principle of nature. He utters it, and the spirit stands before him, but his mortal courage quails at the fearful sight, and he turns away his eyes in terror. He recovers himself directly and attempts to assert his dignity and claims an equality with his tremendous visitor, but it is too late. The spirit spurns him and disappears, leaving him to relapse into his somber meditations, which gather double bitterness from this new trial and failure of his strength. His eye rests on a flask of poison. He takes it down and resolves on an escape through the grave to a change of scene, since all his better hopes have failed him. But at this moment he hears at a distance a sound of rejoicing, a peal of bells for Easter morning, and the chorus of the youths and maidens, the anthem in which in other days his voice had often joined. He puts the poison aside and lends his thoughts to this new impulse. The faith of his early devotions is long since extinct, but their feelings are not quite forgotten, and their remembered thrill prevails over the attractions of death. The song is renewed, and this long scene closes with it. In the next we find Mephistopheles. He does not come like the greater spirit in power and terror, as one who must be met in pride and strength after having been sought by
Superior science, penance, daring, by length of watching, strength of mind and skill is knowledge of our fathers.
For such are not the ministers of harm. It is the mean fiend who comes like a black dog to scrape acquaintance, who offers himself to be picked up in the street as if by accident, and to make cautious and gradual discovery of his real character. In such a disguise, Mephistopheles finds admittance to the study of the recluse, and he makes use of the opportunity to disturb his meditations, which commence in a softer mood than any in which we have yet seen Faust. He is full of the feeling of his evening walk. He has seen the sun go down, and the influence of the heavenliest hour of heaven has not been lost even on his seared sympathies. He retains, though on the verge of his perdition, enough of his better nature to love a glorious sunset, to be solemnized by it, sobered, saddened, yet soothed and cheered. In such a mood he enters his retirement. He speaks as if he had forgotten that there was sorrow in the world.
Retire we now from field and hill, as close as in the evening hour, and with a soft yet boding thrill, the soul awakes its holier power, and each inordinate desire, and each intemperate impulse dies, as charity's rekindling fire, and God's own love revive and rise.
He is interrupted here by the howlings of the poodle, to whom sentiments like these cannot fail to be unpalatable, but he stills him and goes on, paying that pole star of the student, his lonely lamp, a tribute which must find an echo in the bosom of every man who takes the true distinction between being alone and feeling solitary, between crowds and society, between noise and enjoyment.
Ah, when within our narrow cell, again the friendly taper glows, a light is in the breast as well, and in the heart itself that knows. Reason resumes her lofty themes, hope blooms anew with promise rife. And oh, we languish for the streams, we languish for the springs of life.
This gleam of milder thought is already passing off, but he sits down to a theological disquisition, in the course of which the dog becomes outrageous, for perverse and unprincipled as his taste is, he has the merit of being consistent in the feeling and persevering in the expression of it. So much so that Faust, annoyed at last, attempts to turn him out of doors, and a contest takes place, in the course of which the real character of the stranger is discovered, and Mephistopheles stands forth to personate it. Their conversations are long. I shall not amplify upon them now. The result is that Faust sells, or rather, so recklessly does he bargain, gives away his soul, and the covenant is signed in blood. Yet he does get some promises of enjoyment as part of the conditions, and he scornfully tells the adversary, the poor devil as he calls him, that it will not be in his power to fulfill this promise, or to shed one ray of pleasure upon a soul like his. Mephistopheles, in reply, taunts him with his attempted suicide and his relenting when he heard the Easter songs and bells, intimating that the pleasures and affections of humanity have still some hold upon his breast. But he denies the inference.
What though that sweet remembered tone recalled my soul from fearful thought, and soothing dreams like childhood's own, an instant o'er my fancy brought? Still will I curse the spells that bind our natures to this foul abyss, the cheats that kept each chainless mind a prisoner in a den like this. Be cursed henceforth the spirit's deeming and lofty aim, itself to know. Accursed the dazzling pomp of seeming, the world's all captivating show. Cursed be our visions of enduring in name and fame to times to come, and cursed our ties, yet more alluring, of wife, dependents, friends, and home. Accursed be Mammon, when with treasure he waits high enterprise to crown, and when for our inglorious pleasure he smooths luxurious pillows down. Cursed be the vine, may curses scathe each once loved form our hearts recall. Accursed be hope, accursed be faith, and cursed endurance more than all.
These are the outpourings of a humor, which only comes over one occasionally, and which must be felt to be expressed. For such passages, every moment of inspiration is not the happy one. Genius is a will-o'-the-wisp, which nothing but another will-o'-the-wisp can follow, and that will not, many a man. Every man perhaps at times is as capable of execration when his wounded spirit stirs and stings within him as Goethe's self. He becomes, so to speak, a genius for the moment, ad hoc, but then he has his own griefs to pour out in his own way, and will not curse in harness. When the heart sickens and rebels in its convulsive energy, its deep and baneful indignation and fearful eloquence are uncontrollably its own. They cannot be improved for the purposes of society, like steam or gunpowder, and made to work particular machinery, or crammed into some particular cannon, to drive such a thunderbolt of cursing as this of Faust's through the barriers that separate language from language. Feeling may do much for an imitation. It may flow like a stream from a fish pond through the track which a torrent has marked out. But where is the power, the depth, the glory, the devastation of the giant?
Lapides adesos stirpesque raptas e pecus, e domos. Volventis una non sine magno, clamore montium vicinaeque silvae. Translation. The stones were crushed, and the herds and cattle and houses were carried away, rolling together, not without a great shout from the mountains and the neighboring forests.
Yet feeling may do much, and that too while it is still capable of being governed and directed, but not unless it be very capable also of ceasing to be so, and even in some danger of it. And the man who has that feeling in any high degree, and who makes such an effort as the one in question with anything like success, should have a mark set on him, and an injunction should always lie signed in chancery, ready to come down at an instant's warning on his person and estate. All may be well while his safety valves work easily, but who shall calculate the effect of a scolding wife, adversity, loss of reputation, or a fog?